Okay, so here we are looking at multiplication of mixed numbers with whole numbers, and we talked about doubling and halving and tripling and thirding in other videos. We're going to continue that strategy here. So for this one, instead of thinking of it as 2.5 times 10, couldn't I double 2.5 and rewrite it as 5? So multiply that by 2, take 2.5s, and then instead of dealing with 10, I don't want to change my equation, so I'm going to divide by 2, and I get 5. And here I get 5 times 5, which is in fact the same thing as 2.5 by 10. And that answer will give us 25. Another way to think of it is that 2.5 is like 2 plus 1/2 times 10. Well, here you can do 10 times 2 to think about this problem. First you get 20, and then 10 times 1/2, which is 5. Bring 20 and 5 together to get 25. But again, the overall goal here is to rewrite our expressions into simpler forms without actually changing the value. To accomplish that here, we multiplied and divided by the same number. Here, we can multiply and divide by 3 instead of 2, and that'll work nicely. And I'm recognizing this because of the denominator in the fraction is 3. Before it was 2, and that's a good hint for me to use that number when multiplying or dividing. So 15 divided by 3 gives me 5, right? And 3 1/3, if you take 3 of them, you get 10. And I know that because 3 3s is 9, and 3 1/3 is another 1, altogether is 10. So really this problem is like having 10 by 5 or 50. And it's just so much easier to work with than 3 1/3 by 15. So that also equals 50. Here we have 4 1/5 times 15. Now I'm going to divide and multiply by 5. Again, I'm looking at that denominator. And I have 15 divided by 5, that's 3. Okay. 4 1/5 times 5, not so easy, but we can still deal with that. We can think of 5 groups of 4, which is 20, and then 5 groups of a fifth, which is 1. So 20 and 1 are 21. 21 by 3 is going to be our answer. That's 63. So this also equals 63. 2 more to go. This one looks really unfriendly, 3 1/7 times 56, but notice our denominator is a 7, so what I can do is multiply and then divide by 7. 56 divided by 7 is 8. 7 groups of 3 1/7, well, 7 groups of 3 is 21, and 7 1/7 is another 1, so that's like 22. So this is the same thing as 22 times 8, which is 176. So this equals 176. And last but not least, we're dealing with ninths. So I'm going to multiply by 9 and then divide by 9. 63 divided by 9 is 7. 5 in the ninth times 7, well, times 9, excuse me, is, 9 times 5, 9 groups of 5 is 45, and 9 groups of ninths is another 1, so that's like 46 by 7. Still not so easy to do, but we can deal with this. I think of 7 times 40 is 280, just like 7 times 4 is 28, 7 times 4d is 280, plus 7 times 6, which is 42. Add those up, I get 322. So this one's 322. So instead of dealing with the fractions as we see them, we can think about rewriting the expressions by dividing and multiplying by some number, any number, that makes the problem a lot simpler. And sometimes we can be surprised at just how simple these problems are. Like in the first one, when really 2.5 by 10 is the same thing as 5 times 5. Much easier and more intuitive to deal with. And this kind of flexibility is very important in mathematics.